On the court, all stars make assists look easy. Behind the back, no look, or off the backboard, they're dropping dimes nonstop. That's how we feel about coverage and savings. Combine your home and auto with State Farm and start your own assist highlight reel. After all, even all-stars need an assist. Call agent Paul Darning for help combining your home and auto. Enjoy the savings. Dial 219-884-6947 or visit www.pauldarning.com. That's PAULDAWNING.com. Good afternoon, and welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I am your host, Kevin King. He is I, and I am him, the 800 Credit Score Man himself. And I again want to come in and thank each and every one of you for all of your support, for listening to the show, and for contacting me. You know this show is only as good as you guys are. So when you contact me, you give me ideas about subjects that you want to hear about to help you increase your credit scores, which is going to lower your interest rates and save you money in the end. So again, thank each and every one of you guys for coming in and listening to the show. Today, what are we going to talk about? Today, well, let's go back. Last week, we talked about buying stuff, how that works when you want to buy stuff, when you want to finance something, and you go into a store and they're going to offer you, 6 months same as cash and what have you. Hopefully, I did not thoroughly confuse you on what you're supposed to do. So we're going to kind of continue what we talked about last week in that regard. Today, we're going to talk about cars and how you're supposed to go in and deal with them when it comes to the financing portion. We'll talk a little bit about negotiating and getting a good price and things of that nature, but we're also going to talk about what do you want to do about your interest rate? What do you want to do about what your payment and term, things of that nature? So we're going to talk about those things today on the 800 Credit Score Man Show. So I want you to click share and share this show with all of your friends, family, followers. Share this show with all of them so they can learn what to do when they walk into a car dealership or what to do prior to walking into that car dealership. That's very important. You need to do some research prior to going to the car dealership so you know what's a good deal and what isn't a good deal. All right, so we're going to talk about that today. At the end of the show, I'm going to do a credit score kiss, and that's keep it smart and simple. We haven't done one in quite some time, but I am going to make an offer that you cannot refuse. So I want you to stay tuned for the credit score kiss for today. So let's jump off the show with a couple of shout outs. I got to give shout outs to Mr. and Mrs. Brian Seaton. They celebrated a wedding anniversary earlier this week, so happy anniversary to you guys. I also want to shout out another wedding anniversary of Mr. and Mrs. Leslie and Carla Baker. They celebrated a wedding anniversary as well. They've been married a long time, you guys. So shout out to you guys for sticking together. A man of Omega Psi Phi and a lady of Delta Sigma Theta. So congratulations to you guys and happy anniversary. And I hope you have many, many more. I also want to shout out Monique and Monica Crane. They celebrate a birthday on tomorrow, so happy birthday to you ladies as well. So let's jump into the show. Today we're going to talk about your car dealings and what should you do or maybe what shouldn't you do when it comes to financing your car when you go in to look for a new car or even if it's a used car. Doesn't really matter to me. These tips and tools will help you when you start to negotiate and when you want to drive off the lot with a brand new to you car, whether it's new or not at all. All right, so today, what are your options? So what are your options when you go into a dealership? Your options are to lease or to buy. Now, which one of those are best for you? Who knows? It depends on your particular situation. It's kind of like if you think about it, if you want to rent a home or if you want to buy a home. It depends on your particular situation. So you may be in a situation where buying a car is better for you. If you drive a lot, if you drive a whole lot, your church is across town, your job is across town, and what have you, you're going to put a lot of miles on your car. You still take that trip down to Mississippi to visit old relatives every year, and you're going to do it in your car with your family. If you do those kinds of things, leasing is probably not the best option for you. Because with leasing, if you don't know, when you lease a vehicle, you do it for a specific term. You can do it for 24 months or 36 months, probably even 48 months. You can lease a vehicle. At the end of that lease term, you turn that vehicle back in. During your negotiation and whatever you're talking about with the dealership, then you get a certain number of miles that you can drive on that car per year. So if you do a lease for 3 years, which I think is pretty much the standard, if you do a lease for 3 years and say you do 15,000 miles a year. Now, first off, if you do 15,000 miles a year, that's about standard. If you're talking to, some kind of insurance agent or whatever, 15 miles a year are probably about standard. So if you do 15 miles a year over 3 years, you got 45,000 miles. You need to turn your car in at the end of that 3 years with 45,000 miles or less, or you pay a penalty, if you will. And that'll be established when you go in and you sign your papers for that lease. So typically, I believe that it'll be around 25 cents per mile. So if you drive 46,000 miles, when you turn it in, you got 46,000 miles, you pay 25 cents for each of those miles that you are over. That's how it works with a lease, and you pay that at the end. Now, that doesn't mean when you drop the car off back at the dealership that you write that check that day. Typically, what happens is they take the car in, they'll have somebody come. So if your lease was financed through, let's just pick somebody. So if your lease was financed through Chase, they'll send somebody out to look at the car in a week or 2 or 3 weeks. They'll send somebody out to look at the car. They'll look at the mileage, and they'll send you a bill at the end. They'll send you a bill, and hey, here's your bill, and this is what you're supposed to pay. So that's typically how it works with the lease. All right, and so if you didn't know that, that's exactly how a lease works for you when you turn it in. Now, doesn't necessarily get credit if you turn your car in and you only had 40,000 miles on it, but you were allowed to do 45. Doesn't mean that you're going to get any kind of credit or any money back necessarily because you turned it in under. Also, let me tell you this. Oftentimes, we're looking at TV. We're looking at TV and we see the ads out there and they're saying you can come in and you can get a Mercedes and only pay $400 a month. It's brand new. It's a 2017 and it's shiny and all of those things. And you can get that car on a lease deal, and it's that's a low payment for a Mercedes Benz. So if it's $400 a month, you want to run out there and you want to get that particular car, you've got to read the fine print. Last week I talked about fine print when it comes to those 90 days same as cash and 6 months same as cash. You've got to read the fine print when it comes to that, because oftentimes those deals come with very, very, very low miles on them. So that means that $400 payment that they're advertising on TV typically means you can only drive 10,000 miles a year. Now, for some people, that may be great. You work, 2.5 miles away from your job, from your home. Everything that you do is in a short distance from your home, because when you take your kids to school or you take your kids to the particular camp or to the baseball game or whatever it is, it's in your neighborhood and you don't really drive your car that much. So maybe that 10,000 miles per year works for you. Doesn't work for me. Never have, never will work for me. But that 10,000 miles is where you get that payment is. So that's what you have to look at when you see those ads on TV. What I always do when I see those ads, I pause my TV. I get up, I walk to the TV, and I read that fine print, because it's going to tell you everything you need to know, or most that you need to know, in that particular fine print. And that's where you'll see this particular payment is on 10,000 miles. It means that you put $3,500 down when you come in to get this car. It's on 36 months. All of those things typically are in the very, very fine print when you see those kinds of ads. So make sure that you see those things and you do your research each and every time you want to go in and look at a vehicle, especially if you're going to do a lease. Make sure that you look at those that fine print as well. So since I'm talking about the 10,000 miles that you can get, doesn't mean that you can't get a good deal still, and you can drive a very high-end car or maybe a not so high-end car for very little money. It just means that you purchase additional miles up front. So then that is included in whatever your payment is ultimately going to be. It's going to be included in that. So if the offer is 10,000 miles and you think to yourself, well, I probably drive 15,000 miles, or maybe you think I drive 12,000 miles, then you'll purchase those additional miles up front, and you can absolutely do that. In my experience, because I have leased before, to purchase it up front was 15 cents a mile. Now, it may differ from different car manufacturers, different leasing places, or different dealerships. It may differ, but for my deal, it was 15 cents per mile. So the deal, when I went in and leased my vehicle, it was 10,000 miles for whatever the deal was. I needed more than that, so I got up to 15,000 per year, and I paid 15 cents per mile up front, all financed in to my deal. I did that for the additional 5,000 miles that I wanted. So you need to be aware of those things when you go in, especially if you've never leased before. So a lease option is good for some people. If you're the kind of person and you know that you don't drive that many miles, or you know that you like to change cars every 2 years, you like that brand new car smell, or whatever it is, then leasing may be a great option for you. So I wouldn't discount leasing at all. Some people don't want to do it. They feel like they never own anything. They never own a car. But think about this. How many cars have you had that you actually paid it off? You actually paid it off and then you kept it and you still have it. Sometimes that happens, but more often than not, people get out of their car before it's paid off for whatever reason. Sometimes it's mechanically bad by the end of that term. Sometimes you're just tired of it. Sometimes you get in a car wreck. And unfortunately, it seems like every time somebody pays off their car, the next month, something catastrophic happens. You get in a car accident, the engine fails, or what have you. So if that's the case for you and you like switching out your cars, not saying it's the best thing for you financially, but everything shouldn't or have to be financial about you. Some things just make you feel good. So you might want to switch out a car. So maybe leasing is an option for you. If you don't drive a lot, of course, leasing is a good option for you because you can get a newer car every other year or so. And also you can probably drive a better car because the payments are typically lower than if you were to go in and buy as well. So that's what I wanted to give you about leasing. And we're going to talk a little bit about buying as well and what you should do. Before we get to the buying piece, I got a story to tell you. I think I'll go ahead and do the question of the day right quick, and then I'll come back to the story. So before I get to the question of the day, I want to give a couple more shout outs. I want to give a happy birthday shout out to Derek Crocker as well. Derek celebrated his birthday last week on the 9th, so happy birthday to you, Derek Crocker. I also want to give a shout out to some best friends. So Don Johnson and Darnell Richardson, best friends, both of their birthdays are coming up this week on the same day. Like, how crazy is that you and your best friend birthday are on the same day? So that's the 18th. So happy birthday to Darnell and Don. I also want to give shout outs for some birthdays that are today. Natasha Hayes, she celebrates a birthday today, so happy birthday to you. And Lavelle Smith, she celebrates a birthday today as well. So let's jump into the question of the day right quick. The question of the day comes from Brian. Brian is out of the great state of New York, and he contacted me via Facebook. You can contact me on Facebook as well. I am 800 Credit Score Man on Facebook. You can contact me and send me your questions there. I also have a group that I think you should all join. That group is Credit Score Comeback. I deemed 2017 the year of your credit score comeback. So Credit Score Comeback is the name of the group. Please join that group as well. So the question of the day: cute as a cupcake, cupcakery and bake shop, where the cupcakes are more than just cute, they're delicious. Cute as a Cupcake is located at 2008 West 81st in Maryville, Indiana. Get by Cute as a Cupcake and tell them that the 800 Credit Score Man sent you. I'm also going to say this to you. When you go to Cute as a Cupcake and you get those delicious cupcakes, let me know. Let me know how good they